It's day 13 of my 25-day Declutter My Whole Home for the Holidays challenge, which means we are halfway through, which is really exciting. Today I am starting to tackle the storage. We have a lot back there. My main goal is right here, and I'll explain why in just a minute. Everybody's back at work and school. My husband and youngest went back yesterday. My college kids went back last night, so I actually have the house free to myself today. I'm only going to just do a little bit today just because I'm painting sets for like 5 hours during the day, so I don't want to stress myself out too bad, but like I actually got dressed and I'm not in pajamas today, so I'm going to try and make the most of today. So here we go. Today's goal is to go through at least this storage unit here. The reason for that is because I need to move the 2 Christmas trees over here because my daughter will be getting an apartment in June, so we just got her a bed, box spring, mattress, all of that. Box spring and mattress need to store here. We can put like the bed pieces up next to it. We need the space for that to get it out of the garage. So when I declutter the garage next week, I'm not working around all of that. So here we go. If you saw my laundry room declutter video, you will remember that we ask a lot of this room. The laundry is in here, storage is in here for house projects, memories, guest supplies, decorations, college supplies, extra furniture for when guests are here. There's a little cleaning area. There's canning items. Like, there is a lot in this room, so we have to keep it as clutter-free as possible. I really don't anticipate a lot that needs to be decluttered in here, but things tend to sneak in or just get put away in here accidentally. So we're just going to see what we can get done this morning. I really would like to consolidate my kids' memory bins so they each have a little bin with like trinkets and things, and then they have bigger bins with like school papers. So I would really like to actually combine them at some point, but I'm not going to do that today. I right now am just pretty much focusing on going through as quick as possible. I am labeling things because a lot of things don't have labels. This basket, I really wanted to put a label on it, but the wicker was too thick, and the part where it was thinner, there is a vertical support for the basket, so a label can't fit there unless I make a notch in my label, which I'm trying to do. These labels are like thick plastic, but they're like chalkboard-like, so there's a chalkboard marker. I love them because you can change the label when your needs change. So I'm just cutting a notch in that as best as I can. It took a little bit longer, but it worked, and I was able to put a label on the basket. And now when we need to find things, it'll be a little bit easier to see what's what. Having so many different baskets down here that were not labeled, as you can see, was a little frustrating because people were not, probably myself included, let's be honest, were not putting things away where they needed to be. And that's on me because I'm the one who redid all of this organization and never labeled things. You can see that there are certain bins that have labels on them, but the newer organization, I never took the time to do that. So here's your reminder: if you are organizing, make sure you put labels on things because it's really going to help things stay neat and tidy. People will see where things need to go. So it just really makes life a lot easier. It makes it easier to find things, put things away, all of that good stuff. And once all of these are labeled, I'm going to move down to the next shelf, which is all of our paints. I did go through this when I did all these new bins. However, there was one paint can that I didn't recognize, and I always take a permanent marker and write which room the paint can belongs to. Then I remembered, we just repainted my daughter's room, and I never labeled it. So I did that. And then we're going through the paint supplies. I love this little 2-drawer unit that I have. The top one has like paintbrushes and like the rollers and all of that stuff, so that's all protected from dust and things like that. And then the bottom drawer is like drywall supplies. And of course, those are labeled, so it's really easy to put things away. But I'm going through and I'm finding that there are a lot of paintbrushes and things that never should have been put away. They should have just gone right to the garbage. So I'm going through, and actually the drawer will close now, which is wonderful. And then we have spray paint. Some of this is probably old, but we just love using it whenever we may need to. So that's definitely something for random projects that I'm going to keep, and then when I use them, I will throw them out if they're no good. But like if we do like 3D printed things, we like to do a base coat of spray paint before we like paint them like officially. So I want to make sure we keep that, and I will definitely make sure that that bin gets labeled, because all about the labels today. This unit is done, and honestly, it did not take as long as I expected, so I'm going to just work as long as I can. I gave myself an hour to work in here before heading to school to work on painting sets for the musical. I am the artistic director of set design, so I help design what sets are going to look like, and then I pass it off to the technical director of set design. He builds everything for me, and then I come back in and I start painting and making everything look pretty. So I really need to be at school working on that today. Middle section really didn't need much to be done. That's mostly guest stuff and memory things. It's all labeled, pretty organized. I will go through the guest things in a couple weeks when I do a organized holiday boot camp. I haven't come up with a title for that yet, but I'll come back and do that later. And then just labeling these bins over here. This is mostly like wrapping paper and gift bags and like decorations, things like that. But like the wreath box wasn't labeled, and I'm typically the one who gets in and out of the wreaths, but there's times where I'm like, hey, can you go down and get the wreath box? So having that labeled properly is going to be a big help. And then just making sure that labels are fully taped down. Some of them were peeling up because the tape was old, so just making sure everything looks good for later. I will go through Christmas decorations at another day, probably when I start decorating for Christmas. And then continuing around the room clockwise, there really isn't much on the kids' college shelves that need to be done. There is a bin that I will take care of later when I have more time, but I'm going to move the Christmas trees over because that was the main goal for today. So then hopefully my husband and I can do the box spring and mattress tonight, or probably this weekend when we have more time, and then just kind of tucking everything in this little nook area just so the box spring and mattress have more room for when we move those down, and then heading over to the cleaning nook, and I'm just finally discarding this broom that is disintegrating every time we use it. And then here's what it looks like afterwards. Other than the trees being moved, it really does not look much different, but knowing that those labels are on really does make me feel so much better to be in this room. It's really weird, but just knowing that we can find things and I can send anybody down and they'll be able to find things for me, that's going to make a world of a difference. Not every day, but often enough that taking that time to do it, which honestly should have been done earlier, let's be honest. So just knowing that it's done is a pretty great feeling. It is obviously the next day. I had to drop everything and run to get to school on time, but I was able to get the storage all done in one day. I will be doing an organized holiday boot camp coming up at the end of this challenge. It's going to be a week-long challenge where we're going to just make sure that we're setting ourselves up for the best, less stressful holidays. So I'm still working on details for that, so stay tuned for all of that coming up soon. So I'll be doing the guest bedding at that point. I know there really isn't anything in there that needs to be decluttered, but I just want to make sure that I go through everything. We're not really expecting guests this year, but on the off chance, one of our kids brings somebody home for the Thanksgiving break or something, I want to make sure that we're ready for that. And I also did not go through the decorations for the holidays. We have our Easter, Halloween, and Thanksgiving decorations all in one bin. When I pull out our Thanksgiving wreath in a couple weeks, I'm going to go through that bin then. And then I went through all of the Christmas bins when I undecorated after last season. So I really don't think there's anything in there, but when I pull that stuff out, I'll go through it again then, so I didn't take the time to do that now. It really was pretty much more of a just making sure that things were put away. I did remove some paint tools, which is going to make, house projects so much easier when I reach and know that, hey, I actually do have good paintbrushes in here. And I had some more things in there that I didn't realize because it was buried in the back under everything that was useless. But knowing that everything is labeled, everybody's going to be able to find things easier, that really took a level of mental clutter out of my head basically. So I know it wasn't a full declutter, but I was able to just remove some of that mental clutter, which was really important. So thanks for tuning in. I hope to see you next time. Bye.